Green Lantern, issue 17, legacy number 553, Jeremy Adams writing with XERMANICO on the art. So, I will give a critique here to start off with. I like this issue, but I will give a critique. Is that there's so many different things going on right now with so many characters that it's not flowing quite as well as some of the better issues have. I'll say that.
It's very herky-jerky.
Yeah, there's a lot of jumping around, and we've got both Varen, and we've also got
Theron?
Theros, yes. That's not Theron. I'd be really confused if it was Varen and...
But it's because I put them in my head as one person.
I know.
As Theron. It's Varys and... Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Yes, so it's Varen and Theros.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you said it the other way around there. You said Theron and Varys.
Okay, yeah, you know what I mean. See, this is part of the problem. This is part of the problem.
Right. So Varen's got the Revenant Queen, basically, the power of the Revenant Queen in him. So he's this sort of all black with purple flames, kind of like demon-looking dude right now.
Yeah, he's the Dark Star type thing that Jon Stewart fought in War Journal.
Well, kind of, but don't say Dark Star. Yeah, you're just going to confuse
it. Okay.
Because Theros has the Dark Star ring. Varen does not. Varen is the embodiment of the Revenant Queen.
Yes.
So Varen is Revenant Queen. Theros is Dark Star ring.
Yes.
Do not make it more complicated than that, because we will lose our goddamn minds.
And then you got the Unseeing.
Yeah,
but whole thing.
I'm pretty sure they're dead by the end of the issue, which I was glad for, just because it took something off the table. I'm like, okay, that's one thing I don't have to remember anymore, is the Unseeing. They're gone now, so that's excellent. That said, though, despite the critiques that I have just levied, right, of being a bit hard to juggle all this stuff, I am enjoying the general direction of the book. I will say, though, the back half of this issue has some spectacular big moments that comes with fantastic art. So,
oh my goodness.
Despite
killing it.
Yeah, despite any critiques that I may have levied there's a lot to like still in this issue and like where we're going. So, yeah, but the big thing, right, is that Varen is now like an all glowing white Revenant thing, because he has a ring now that lets him access the source spectrum.
Which came from the Unseen, right? After they got just defeated, the ring crashed down, kind of towards his direction, right?
Yes, and he picks it up, and he goes all white instead of the purpley black that he was before, and then he flies off to do whatever. But, so, that's a fine development. But for me, all the good stuff starts after that scene, because the scene after that is where we see, okay, here's Hal, here's John, and Red Angry Lantern Mogo is chasing them through space, right? And the other thing I was happy about is that the other Durlans, who are also in this issue plotting and talking about what they want to do and controlling the spectrum and dealing with Theros, I'm glad that they also seemingly die, because, again, it's just more characters off the table. It's less things to think about. Because by the end of this issue, it really is just the two villains. It's Theros and Varen. And, I mean, yeah, Sinestro's involved by the end, but we know Sinestro don't want to confuse me. I know who Sinestro is.
Yeah. And also, we know what side Sinestro's on.
Yes.
Right?
So anyway, right, so they're getting chased by Mogo, and it's this big 2-page layout. It's coming towards and they fly past the ship with all the Durlans, and we get this gorgeous 2-page layout where Mogo fires a huge red lantern beam out, and it just incinerates the ship. Like, they're just gone. Like it was nothing. And Hal and John meet up with the other lanterns, and then we get the best page of the whole book, which is they're basically getting ready to try and evacuate Oa, because Mogo's coming to annihilate Oa in the same way that it annihilated Korrigar? Thanagar. That's right. It's because I'm thinking of Sinestro. I'm thinking there's too many aliens and names.
Because they overthrew him on Korrigar.
That's right.
Right? And destroyed the
do you know what's funny about that mistake, though, there? My mistake there wasn't that I mistakenly thought that they destroyed Sinestro's planet. It's that I just swapped the names in my head, because what I was about to say when I stopped myself and thought about it for a second is I would say, no, Matt, they killed the Hawkman planet. They killed Korrigar, and then I went, no, that's wrong. There's a Stanagar. Yes.
That's Stanagar, home of the galaxy's most dangerous creature.
So much.
Thanagarian snare beast.
Too much shit in comic books sometimes. Anyway, I say that lovingly, but there is too much shit in comic books sometimes. But yeah, there's this gorgeous page where Mogo is getting close to Oa, and then this red streak of light comes into, like, you know, there's these like vertical panels off to the side where you see Sinestro just flying full force towards Mogo. And half of this 2-page layout is just this big, huge splash of the impact of Sinestro hitting Mogo. It looks basically like a giant meteor hitting a planet, right? That's the sort of like thing you're looking at here. It is simply gorgeous. It is beyond beautiful, and it feels like that sort of big, epic, larger than life thing that I remember feeling occasionally when I was reading Johnsy's Running Green Lantern, where you get these big ass moments that feel huge. It feels huge that Sinestro is full of all this rage, and he basically comes in, whether or not he actually wants to save Oa, or he's just here for revenge or whatever. Yeah. But what happens is that once he's sort of crashed into Mogo, is that he basically sucks up all of the anger from it and turns Mogo back into its regular self. Mogo's asleep, they point out, like he's not awake, but he's green again, and again it almost looks like a shot from the end of 2001, the way Mogo's sort of hovering next to Oa, just kind of like there, but there's a little bit of destruction from where the crater hit, where Sinestro hit. Really pretty, really pretty stuff.
You know, and that whole page right there too, after the Great Impact page, the way that the color gradient goes, right? With orange, red, down to the greens and the blues. Yeah. It's just a beautifully crafted page.
Yeah, because it's split in two, where the top's like a shot from Oa looking at Mogo and it's all red. And then the bottom is Mogo back to normal next to like the all sort of blue-green earth looking sort of colors of Oa. But on top of those two panels, there's like 3 kind of angled panels in the middle, which sort of shows more of the transition. And it shows you Sinestro absorbing the power, and like Mogo sort of like the red being sucked out of it effectively. So yeah, it's big, it's epic, it feels huge, it feels like a big deal. And then Sinestro's like wiped out by this because it was obviously such a huge moment of power. So he basically passes out, and Hal goes up and catches him. So very interesting to see how their interactions play out when he wakes up.
And a thing to think about too here, right, with Sinestro is last time we saw him, he was on Earth, right? He had his yellow ring, and then we didn't see him again for a while until right here. Yeah, when he shows up, it's not one of the Theros source lanterns, right, or whatever we were calling them, where they can the spectrum lanterns, where they could shift things. He's got a full-on red ring.
Yeah, we saw him get that, right?
We did?
Yeah, this was not a surprise that he had red.
Oh shoot! I forgot about that.
Yeah, they showed us him. I assume it was. I mean, I don't remember it exactly, but I want to say it was a moment where it's like, "Hey, you've got great rage in you." Like,
see, I don't remember that. I must have read that on a episode I wasn't on, because I felt we would have talked about that. But no. So when he came here with the red ring, I thought that was a big deal, because kind of where it's going, it feels like the source lantern-y thing is going ahead, and it almost as if when you train for the one specific emotion, you can do stuff like Sinestro did, right? Versus kind of all this other stuff of the phase shifting kind of lanterns. It's almost like the power is not as strong. It's almost like it's been watered down.
Yeah. So no, this was big. It was cool. Hal going up to save him after he's done this is also a nice touch, given their kind of frenemy relationship that they've had forever. But Varen is now going towards the source energy, right? And he's like, oh, it's coming to me. The power will be mine. And when this starts happening, Kyle, who of course has been in this weird state because of the spectrum being all wonky, kind of like starts getting very erratic, yells that he has to save the spectrum, and he turns into a White Lantern, which obviously feeds into his backstory. And he flies off to like go into where the energy is, and he goes into it almost in the same way that Sinestro went into Mogo.
Yeah.
but the characters are just looking in shock, and you just see a box saying Kylo Rayner is dead. But this isn't Varen, this is Tharos, who's hovering above Oa looking down. Now luckily he's a very different, like he's got like flames around him, and he's got like this gold armor on, so he's visually very distinct from Varen, which is good.
He's very orange.
Yes. So he's like, yes, so now you're going to, feel the wrath of the Dark Star. But there's a nice little thing at the end of this where it says, next time, Battle of Oa, blah, 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 blah. We barely even talked about the fact that Kilowog's supposed to be dead, but he's a Yellow Lantern now. That's something I'm sure is going to come up. But it says, and of course, ... and there's actually one more page, and it says Kylo Rayner lives, and he's inside the spectrum of light, and seemingly it means that he's probably going to be important, that he's in here, and that he's going to end up helping somehow. But it was
his destiny.
It's interesting though that they effectively pulled off a post-credit scene with this. Yeah. That's effectively what it is.
Yeah.
Because obviously they said, "Oh, he's dead." I don't believe you. I don't believe you're just killing Kylo like that.
Well, and then again, that was Theros saying that Kylo Rayner's dead. And he's like, "Well, no, you don't know. You saw him dive into this spectrum thing." But
yeah. So no, the back half of this issue was bombastic. It was big. Yes. It was huge. It felt amazing. Like, art was gorgeous. It was just a bit messy in the first half because there's so many goddamn characters. But I'm actually glad that like two groups of characters got taken out, just so that there's less for me to remember now, which I'm more than happy about.
For sure. Oh man. So apparently the Sinestro thing happened in Green Lantern 5. So man, I know I read that. I've read all the stuff.
No, I remember it was when I turned the page and I saw him coming in the red suit. I went, "Oh yeah, that's right. You got a Red Lantern ring." I remembered, like it sparked my memory, and I remembered it happening. But I couldn't have told you when exactly it happened. But
yeah. So, anyways, really good moments, like you were saying. These big, huge, kind of crowd pleasing. Crowd pleasing moments, and XERMANICO just kills the art. Like, you have these big 2-page spreads, and usually when I start going through a book and I start getting a bunch of them, you're like, oh, you're just trying to get through the page count quicker, right? But here they're paced expertly, with Adams and him. So just to get those big, huge moments, and taking off a few players off the board too, because something happened with Ellie in this one too that we see. She's rolling around, or was that another book I read?
Ellie was there briefly. She's there to say, hey, we have to go get Kelly, and we see that with Kelly, they're because basically that's where Varen goes to, or was it Tharos goes to her to get the ring.
So again, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that it's hard to keep track of it. So yeah, less characters to worry about, the better it is for me.
Yeah. So I'm glad a few were taken off the table, but yeah, really great stuff in the back half. Excited to see where they go from here with this story. It does, it's exciting. I'm excited to see, and I'm also excited to get more a Carol story with the Grey Lantern and all that stuff. But I understand why we're not doing that for a little bit, because there's a lot going on right now. So we can get back to that. But what are you giving Green Lantern?
8.5.
I'm conflicted because the back half of this book is like at least a 9 out of 10. Right? It's fantastic. But the first half's a bit messy. There's a lot of characters. It didn't flow that well for that first half. So I think I have to just go with an 8 out of 10 for some of that messiness. But I'd almost say the first half of this is like a 6.5 and the second half is like a 9.5. So I'm going to say 8 out of 10 overall. But it's just, it is what it is. But there's a lot of great stuff in here, so I was very happy with it by the end, but there was definitely some messiness to get there.